Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We're starting our Pac-12 North Division predictions today, and our next team made a surprising playoff run last year before losing to Alabama, but they returned a lot of starters and are hoping to make yet another playoff run. They are the Washington Huskies. Last year, I actually predicted Washington to make the college football playoff. Chris Petersen has done a great job transforming this team into a national power. He's installed the kind of offense he wants here, just like he did at Boise State. And Washington really ran through their entire schedule last year, the only slip-up coming to USC late in the season. This year they returned 13 starters. They have Jake Browning back at quarterback and Myles Gaskin back at running back. That's the dynamic duo there. So they're going to be very strong on offense, and I think they're going to be very strong on their defensive line, especially with those 6 returning starters back on defense. So Washington is primed for a very possible playoff run this season. They could very easily get back. Schedule is very favorable, but that could also hurt them if they are to slip up somewhere because of the strength of schedule. It's not as tough as some other teams, so we're going to see how they do. Opening up the season at Rutgers. Rutgers is a team that has really struggled since they joined the Big Ten a few years ago. They just really haven't been able to keep up with the competition like they used to. It is on the road. It's a very long way to travel for Washington. But I think Washington, they're going to be pretty high on themselves. They made it to the college football playoff last year, and they know they have the talent. Their biggest loss, if you ask me, they lost some key stars on defense, and then John Ross, of course, the wide receiver, the speedy wide receiver, that hurt them a little bit. But I really don't think Rutgers is going to be too much of a problem for them. I know it's on the road. Rutgers could fare a little better this year in the Big Ten, but not drastically. No way. Montana, easy win there. FCS school at home. And then Fresno State, a team that does return a lot of starters this year as well, but I'm not really concerned about the game either. So Washington will open up the season 3-0, and that should be expected. I really don't think that. Those second and third games are very easy. Rutgers, I really don't think anybody should be concerned about that. But then they start Pac-12 play middle of September at Colorado, the team they faced in the Pac-12 championship last year. This will be a fun one to watch. Considering it's so early, this will be Washington's first real test. Colorado would have already had a few tests previously in the season. Colorado returns those 9 starters on offense. That could pose a little bit of a problem for the Huskies. Really don't see it, though. I like that it's on the road. Colorado getting Huskies at home. That's going to be a fun one to watch. But I really don't think Washington's going to have any problems against Colorado. I think Colorado will be still a threat this year, and no team needs to overlook them, especially when they're playing at home. But Washington is just going to be too good of a team this year, and I think they're going to take easy care against Colorado. And then Oregon State, a team that also returns 15 starters, so they're going to be improved, I think. And Gary Anderson has done a great job there, and he's going to get there, Oregon State, back to where they should be and be competitive in their division. But even though it's on the road, I really don't see any problem for Washington. They are a very experienced team. They've had the experience of playing in big games, Pac-12 championship, college football playoff games. And if you remember, they hung with Alabama for a little bit. Up until a certain point, they were only within a touchdown or 10 points. So Alabama didn't just annihilate them until that Bo Scarborough run at the end there. We all remember that. Oregon State, though, should be a problem for the Huskies. And then California at home, a team that I really do think is going to struggle this year. As I've said before in my multiple Pac-12 videos, first-year head coach, lost a lot of starters. I really see no way the Golden Bears defeat Washington, especially at home. I really don't see any way that can happen. Teams do slip up, but do not see that happening this year. And then at Arizona State, another team that has a very good offense, or should have a good offense if they can stay healthy. So once again, I think the key to Washington this season will be their defense. I'm not concerned about their offense. I don't know anybody that would be concerned about their offense. When you return a quarterback like Jake Browning, who's very talented, and you return a dynamic rusher and Myles Gaskin, I really would not be scared if I were Washington right now. Their offense is going to be very solid. And the defense, even though they only returned 6 starters, it's going to be very, very solid too. I really wouldn't be worried about that. So Arizona State, even though it's on the road, they've got to stay healthy. But I really don't think Washington's going to have any trouble with that. Their schedule, like I said earlier, is very, very, to me, easy. They avoid USC from the South Division, so they don't have to worry about that. That's the team they lost to last year in the regular season. So the teams they draw from the South are not the worst. I think their toughest one would be, let's see here, UCLA, maybe. That's their toughest one, and they're lucky to get that one at home. So they avoid USC, and that's the key. So they get a bye week, still undefeated. I have them at, what would that be, 6-0, 7-0, going into the bye week, facing UCLA, a Josh Rosen team. That'll be another fun quarterback matchup between Browning and Josh Rosen. But I really don't think UCLA is going to be able to go on the road and defeat Washington. I mean, Washington, I think, has a very, very solid chance to get back to the college football playoff this year. But once again, like I said, strength of schedule is becoming a huge factor in which teams are selected to go in those top four. And so Washington really can't afford any major slip-up, especially late in the season. But UCLA, don't think they have to worry about that game. Well, I take that back. They'll have to worry about it, but I don't think they're going to lose it. I don't think it's going to be a very close game in the end. And then Oregon, a team Washington dropped 70 points on last year on the road. They dropped 70 at Oregon. That definitely will not be the case this year, even though it is at Washington. They will not drop 70 points. Oregon's going to be an extremely improved team. They're nothing like the team that we all saw last year. Willie Taggart's going to really has transformed that team, and their returning starters is going to be key for them. So they get Oregon at home. I think Washington gets a win there as well. Those two games, those are really tough opponents for them, and the fact they get them both at home is a huge boost. So that's going to be a win there. And then at Stanford, if we all remember last year, this was Washington's coming out party as like their national contenders. Yes, they were undefeated, and yes, they were like in the top 10 when they played Stanford last season, but they really hadn't played anybody. They hadn't played anybody tough. Stanford was their first true test, and they annihilated them. This year it's at Stanford. Stanford, you know they're going to be mad, and we know Stanford's going to be a good team. Stanford struggled early last season and then won a lot towards the end to get back into the rankings and won their bowl game. This year at Stanford, Stanford's a very talented team with 16 returning starters, and I'm going to predict a loss for Washington late in the season. 3 games away from finishing it out, and I'm predicting a loss at Stanford. I really do think Stanford... This isn't just a revenge game. It is a revenge game, and they're going to be very angry. But Stanford does have a lot of talent, and with it being on the road, that does concern me a little bit for Washington. And I think maybe this late in the season, the playoff thoughts might start getting in their head. Pac-12 championship thoughts could be getting in their head. They might be looking too far ahead, and Stanford could sneak up on them, and I think they're going to lose on the road to Stanford. Hopefully, though, if they keep that game close and do not get blown out, they will hang in there and not drop too far in the rankings. And then they have back-to-back home games to close out the season, so they do have a chance to crawl their way back in to the top 4. Maybe the selection committee can look at that. Utah and Washington State, both at home. Utah, a team that only returns 9 returning starters. I think that's a win there at home. Not a bad team. Then Washington State, that would be another fun one. Luke Falk versus Jake Browning. That would be another quarterback battle to watch. Very fun. Last year, Washington took care of business easily at Washington State. This year, I think Washington State will hang in there a little bit longer because of their defense. I know the offense of what they're capable of, but I think the defense will improve. But in the end, I think Washington takes care of business and wins their home finale, which if they can win in dominating fashion, assuming Washington State is in good position that late in the season, maybe the committee will look at that, kind of giving them a little boost. And if they win the Pac-12 North, then they'll be playing in the Pac-12 Championship, which would also give them a boost if they can win that and hopefully sneak back into the college football playoff. So right now I'm predicting an 11-1 record for Washington. Not bad at all. The exact same record they had last season before losing in the college football playoff. They lost to USC, like I said, in the regular season. Only one conference loss to Stanford. Schedule is very favorable. Stanford, UCLA, and Oregon, that 3-game stretch here will be the key for Washington. 2 of those are at home, so I don't think Washington fans have much to worry about, maybe except for that Stanford game. That could be the only hiccup there. But Washington, I think, is in very good position to make it back to the college football playoffs. So please continue to like, comment, and subscribe. We're continuing our Pac-12 football predictions. We're going to keep going through those and then moving on to the independents, Big Ten, and Big 12. So please continue to like and subscribe and comment teams that you want to see predicted and what you think. And we'll see you next time on the Gridiron Expert.